If you're looking to increase your club head speed, one of the common things that causes your improvement to stall is a lack of hip mobility. I'm going to show you how to improve your mobility at different speeds so that your mechanics don't break down when you get explosive. I want you to have no excuse not to hit a PR in your next speed training session. Here we go. We're going to start in tabletop and do a 360 warm-up of the hip. So I have two different versions of this. Sometimes I do it standing, but I'm going to show you the tabletop version. So on all fours, you're going to extend your right leg back, all the way back. You're going to open the hip, bend the knee up to 90 degrees, and put it down, and then reverse it. So out, back, in, down. And we're going to alternate legs. So 5 each side. Extend, boom, boom. And if you make it into discrete components, make it nice and slow, you're really gonna feel that in your head. So I mentioned there's a second version of this, the standing version of this. It's less focused on the rear of the hip. This is more focused on the muscles that support the front of the hip. So up, out, down, up, in, down. Up, out, down, up, in, down. 5 each side for that one as well. Up, out, down, up, in, down. So you can see my tendency there is actually to turn my hip there. You want to try and fight against that, but sometimes it's a little bit inevitable, especially if you do have restriction in your hip, like I do. So what you can do if you notice yourself opening and turning like that, you can put your other hand on the hip that's standing, and you may be able to go less of a full 90-degree opening the hip. So call this 75 degrees, and I go down and out there. But it's more of a pure rotation in this right hip. And then when I go, so you see right there, I notice my whole pelvis starting to turn. So holding it right at that edge, then you really feel an activation in the hip that's turned. And then, oh, very good. So same deal on this side. Up, out. See right there, I also get some clicking in this hip. So if you get any clicking, it's not something necessarily to worry about, but something to be aware of. And so right at the edge there, this is also something you can do as you want to get a little bit more nuanced and advanced, is you can hold some of these postures, and now you see I'm holding here and pushing here, okay, to feel that stretch in the back of the hip. So when you do it quickly, you don't get some of these interesting nuances. You can't find this anywhere else out there. You gotta come here for this type of stuff. Holding that edge. Yeah, see, I get clicking on the way down. So here's how I deal with that clicking on the way down there. I would hold it just before it starts clicking, and then I would go up and down. You know what I might even do? I might add a little bit of rotation by actually turning the femur this way. So internal rotation, that's crazy right there. And then the kicker is kick out to the side as you lean to the right. Turn that hip farther in. Ooh, keep your balance. And then bring it in, kick out again. Stand, pull the knee in towards the chest. Hallelujah. That thing is fired up, I tell you. There's a secret that isn't really talked about
that'll help you hit the ball farther immediately without changing anything about your swing. It's backed by a couple of interesting studies. So if you want the results of that and a checklist that goes along with it, I've linked it in the description. You can have it right there, flow free. Enjoy. On to the next. You saw the extra slowed down version. Now we add a little bit of force and a little bit of speed and some resistance. I'm a right-handed golfer, so I'm gonna start with this in my right hand. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my pelvis, emulating my hips turning open here, legs straightening here. And what we're gonna do is we're testing the mobility of that left hip, so getting to its end range of motion. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue rotating the pelvis this way as, this is a 12-pound dumbbell, by the way. Something in that range, 10 to 12 is a perfect number. And the idea is we're gonna keep rotating this pelvis without the right hip and the right side of the pelvis going forward. We're gonna continue moving this left hip to the left as this right hip goes towards the left hip. And so let's do that a couple times. The weight here is not necessarily doing much, but you'll see where this weight will come in. So doing that a few times, testing the mobility there, and if that starts to feel good, what we're gonna do is we're gonna punch out this way. Okay, this is the next step up. You go just punch with that. You'll obviously feel that in your arms, but the real power, explosive exercise is this, okay? And letting the right leg go behind your body, okay? So this right hip going towards the left hip, and letting the right leg continue to go behind your body. So you can get to that turn and then explode. How do you like them apples? This next exercise is going to test not only the hip mobility, but single leg stability, along with combining our hip mobility with thoracic rotation, which is 100% applicable to the golf swing. You'll start with your feet directly underneath your hips, trying to stay very centered, very balanced, okay? Deep breath in, shift onto your left leg as your right leg goes back. You're gonna try and get into a 90-degree hip hinge. So you're gonna feel a little bit of stretch in your hamstrings, a little bit in your calf, and just holding that position to begin with, okay? Again, that's gaining our single leg stability. You can do that again on the other side. So, super centered, shift onto the right leg, perfectly hinging over. I felt a little bit of instability in my ankle. Great for that as well. Again, feeling the stretch and stability through the standing calf, hamstring, glute, and breathing, and coming back up. So training that stability first. Now here's the next version. So again, feet underneath the hips, staying nice and tall, shifting to the left, and as you bend over, we're going to turn the chest open. This is our next version. So now you can feel in your right hip an extra engagement, and there's obviously extra balance going on in the standing leg. Okay? That's our version 2. You can see it's a little bit more difficult to get into a full rotation because of some of that instability. Or actually what I was going to say, difficult to get into a full hinge and full rotation but the hinge component is less compared to going full out. Eventually we'll get there. Same thing on the right side. Shift the weight onto the right leg. Hinge back, or hinge forward as your leg goes back, and open chest. A little bit more open going this way. But my ankle feels pretty wild, pretty unstable. Great. I'm gonna do a version that's more stable, and then we'll see if we can put it all together in an unstable and super athletic move here. Okay, the first more stable version is we're gonna have both legs on the ground, angle the back foot out slightly, okay? And then we're gonna go down with the left and up with the right. Now you really see that thoracic rotation coming in. Awesome. You should feel a nice stretch, not only in the mid, but a little bit of the lower back, all along the side here. And if you can reach all the way down, that's great, but I want you to feel it more in your mid thoracic region rather than it being a contest for your legs to get all the way down there. Okay, and then you're gonna come up, hands together, come up, and switch sides. So left leg back, open the hips slightly, okay? And then right hand down, left hand up. Okay. A little bit shorter on that side, but you get the idea. Now here's the version that is going to test you a little bit. We opened our upper half to match the opening of the lower half. Now we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to add our single leg magic. So I will do it facing this way. Left leg is our standing leg. So we're going to start here, centered. And we are going to shift to the left leg, hinge at the waist, and then reach towards the ground with the right hand, okay? And you can put your hand on your shin. Or if you have an external object that you want to hold on to, that's fine. Or if you want to reach for the floor, and that's accessible, you can. Really get this turn going. It's going to challenge standing leg, and again, thoracic mobility in combination with our standing hip strength and turn here. So if you want to add a little extra turn of the hips, you can put that back leg down and turn here, really get into that left hip, really turn with the upper body. And I'll show you the other side. Right leg standing, shift to the right, hinge forward, left hand goes down. Okay, find where your resting spot is, or if you want to get super fancy, you can have your palms together still and have your elbow go against your knee. That is pretty challenging right there. See, I'm getting less of a turn and more more balance action, but putting the hand down is no problem. Big turn, awesome. Here's the foot down version. Getting more turn in the hip and in the upper body. Oh, and just for a second, enjoy this. If you can reach your toes, put your hands underneath your feet. This is really nice for your upper back, mid back. Oh yeah. Thank you for being with me. We're gonna do one final exercise to kind of put this all together. This is going to put some of the different speeds to the test, put some of the slower and the faster into one movement. So we're gonna have our toes out to start. Okay, so we're gonna get into a squat at 90 degrees. Okay, so we're a little bit deeper than 90 degrees. We're gonna hold that for just a little bit, and we're gonna continue by moving side to side. And this is really working on the mobility of our hip depth, or squat depth. And so the power position is considered kind of this quarter squat, like the golf posture right here. But working on this hip depth right now means that when we are at that power position, we're not experiencing tightness from the end range of motion. Sometimes a little bit of tension can help in creating explosive power. But right now, since this is a mobility type video, we want to just test whatever the end range of motion is. So if your end range of motion is here and you feel the tightness there, feel free to put your elbows right on top of your thighs there, no problem, but we're just going back and forth, okay? And come out of that briefly, okay? Feel the tension, shake your hips around a little bit. And again, you can do this with little to no weight, but I like a little weight right now. Okay, so we're going to turn our feet in slightly. We're gonna turn all the way to the right, a little bit of a squat, stay in that squat, turn here. And then, remember what we did earlier with the punch, we're gonna do something similar, keeping the foot on the ground, but feeling like it's being sent behind us. Just like that. So turn, squat, stay squatted, and from here, again, sending that right foot behind, okay? And moving the weight through. So remember before, this is what we did. Like that, I want you to feel that, okay? So, turning, so the difference, of course, is that this is not moving laterally. I was really thinking about that lateral movement, so I went there for a second, but keeping this now more rotational. So turn, squat, rotate, get to that point, and we're sending this leg back. 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 And it may be awkward at times. You saw on that one, there's a little bit of a jump and then turn. That's why we're practicing this. We want it ultimately to be fluid, and we want that hip to not get comfortable coming out, they call that early extending and whatnot, but having it extend in sequence as the right hip moves to where the left hip started. Turn, squat, turn, explode. Turn, squat, turn, explode. And you really should start to feel an explosion in this hip. You might feel it a little bit in this hip Right now I'm feeling it right there. Turn, squat, right here. And if you feel like this hip, that foot wants to come off the ground, if you really want to fire that in the way that we did it before, try and keep it on the ground for now. Turn, squat, turn through. I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun. Stay tuned for more if you like that. There's more coming. Tell me whatever questions you have on what was challenging, or if something didn't make sense, let me know. Thanks.